Hello, beautiful humans, and welcome to the Mental Wellness Wakeup Show, a weekly podcast where growth minded, creative people come to learn best practices from both spirituality and psychology that create lasting well being. I am your host, mental wellness expert, improvised acting teacher, therapist, and coach, Dawn McMillan. Let's get to it. Hey, you beautiful humans. There's this wonderful podcast that I listen to called Ologies with Ali Ward, and she interviews different scientists who practice different kinds of ologies. It's a great podcast. Go listen to it. And she always has these really fun introductions. It'll be something like, "Hi, this is Ali Ward, the gum on your shoe that you scraped off the last time you went to Olive Garden," or something like that. I should think of funny introductions. But what I want to talk about first is how excited I am at the growth of the podcast. The podcast has grown by 70% this year. 70%, that's a lot of growth. And it really is because you, yes, you, are listening. And if you have rated the podcast, subscribed to the podcast, shared the podcast, please stand up and give yourself a round of applause for all the growth that we're seeing, because it is because of you. And my heart is so full of gratitude for that. I also want to give an extra hello to Australia, which is the fastest growing listenership outside of the United States. So hello, friends down under. How is life tomorrow, since you live in the future? Okay, enough of the silliness. I really do appreciate you. I know you have a lot of demands on your time. Time is not a renewable resource. So what a gift that you spend any of it with me. What we're getting into today is revisiting OCD. There's been a lot of interest in the OCD podcast and some questions about relationship OCD. Yes, relationship OCD is a thing, and we are going to talk about it. Okay, so let's talk about relationship OCD, relationship obsessive compulsive disorder. Okay, y'all, I really struggle sometimes with the medicalization of the human experience. Relationships can be a real source of healing and joy and peace and fun and all of the good things and security, but it can also be a huge trigger for insecurity. So I don't want to lean into this discussion with this idea of pathologizing, feeling a little insecure in your relationship. I was speaking to someone recently who shared that they were having nightmares about their partner leaving them up and until the time that they got engaged. So did that person have relationship OCD? Probably not. What that person had was possibly a history of trauma or fears about worthiness or abandonment or just the basic insecurity that comes from sharing yourself with another person, for giving someone else access to your inner world and trusting them with your heart. That can be a little anxiety provoking. So although there has been a lot of interest in relationship OCD, I really want to take the D out of it. Relationship obsessive compulsive experiences. Let's just call them experiences. Calling them a disorder immediately brings to mind, oh no, there's something wrong with me. I'm defective. You're not. If your insecurities within your relationship have gotten a little out of hand to the point where they're disrupting your peace and disrupting the relationship, by all means, get some help with that. But please, 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 my beloved friends, can we just back away from medicalizing ourselves quite so much? Before we had diagnoses, struggling with English today. Before we had diagnoses for everything, we would just notice that, some people are a little quirky. Some people are different. Some people just move through space differently. But now that we have labels for everything, we're giving into this shadow side of wanting to label everything, to wanting to put ourselves into these little boxes where we define ourselves. I am A. And then we list our diagnoses. You are not your diagnoses. You are not your quirks. You are not your struggles. You are not your traumas. You are not your disorders. And if you want to do an interesting thought experiment, look at the definitions of some of these disorders and notice how so many of them include things that pertain to everyone. Do you worry a lot? Yeah. Okay. Maybe you're human. If it is, it's only a problem if it's a problem. I say this to my clients all of the time. If your needs are not interfering with your ability to live a full and rich life or to have healthy and nourishing relationships, it's not a disorder and you don't need medication for it. Okay, let me get off the soapbox and answer the questions that came up about relationship OCD. So the big signs, the big signs, persistent doubts about your relationship, usually accompanied by intrusive thoughts and compulsive behaviors. Signs may include excessive reassurance seeking, overanalyzing partners' behaviors, and a constant need for certainty. Okay, so your partner gets up every morning and says, "You're beautiful and I love you." And you're like, "But do you though? But do you though? Tell me you love me." Needing that reassurance, or being kind of compulsive, like making them hand you their phone every 15 minutes so you can read through it, or giving yourself a headache, wondering if the reason your partner hasn't called in 5 minutes since you left your message is because they're cheating with someone else. Like those kinds of things that are absolutely disturbing your peace of mind and interfering with your relationship are things for which you should seek help. Now, here's another place where it gets a little tricky. So if you are questioning your partner's loyalty because you have a history of infidelity and you have chosen to be in a relationship that requires a form of fidelity, then maybe that's rational. Maybe that's not some form of relationship OCD. If you're like, I want you to share your location with me, and if you're going to be more than 5 minutes late, I want you to call me. Like that might be rational because you're rebuilding trust. But if your partner's been going through life just being a lovely person, supporting you, showing up where they're supposed to be, and you still keep questioning whether or not they love you, that's when it could be a problem. And the sad part about it is that constantly seeking reassurance from other people about whether they will like you or love you or want to be with you can burn them out until they no longer do. It becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy of doom. So if you continue to find yourself reaching out for reassurance, pause for a moment and see if you can observe the thoughts that are showing up in your head non-judgmentally and let them pass. You do not have to act on every urge you get. You do not have to act on every thought that comes into your head. You do not have to act on every feeling that you feel. You're having an insecurity moment and you start to wonder, I don't know if Lara, I don't know if Lara loves me. I'm gonna text her just to be on the safe side. Okay, you're having an insecurity moment. You don't have to text her. You can notice the thought and then look for evidence that she loves you, not that she doesn't. I hesitated to revisit this topic, even though there was a lot of interest in it, just because for every piece of advice or coping skill that I offer you, there is an opposite side which would make that the pathological thing, right? We want to not hold a bunch of assumptions about other people. So we don't want to assume that our partner feels exactly the same way as they did the day before. We don't want to take things for granted. And we also don't want to make them and ourselves crazy by questioning it when there's no evidence to question it. So, what we're really talking about is being mindful in the present moment so that you are experiencing the relationship as it is actually unfolding and not necessarily filtering it through the lens of, I'm assuming my partner loves me, or I'm assuming my partner doesn't love me. I'm assuming my partner is looking for any excuse to break up with me, or I'm assuming there's nothing I could do that would cause this partner to leave me. All of those assumptions are bad. When you need to seek help is when it begins to, your internal thoughts and feelings are disrupting your relationship. Now I can hear what you're thinking. Your partner is behaving in a way that makes you think that their feelings have changed. So you bring something up and they're like, what are you talking about? Everything's fine. AKA gaslighting. Can you believe the evidence of your own senses? And like most things in the mental health field, it depends. It depends. If you're in a well-resourced, healthy space and you are beginning to notice something, maybe you are picking up something that is real. And your partner, either because they don't know how they feel or they're not ready to discuss how they feel, may give you feedback that doesn't match what you're sensing. Okay. Or it could be if you are not in a well-resourced, healthy space, you are projecting your insecurities onto your partner. So I know I've been like, it could be this, but it could be that. It could be this, but it could be that. And that's how it is with mental health a lot of the time. A lot of the time, there's just this range of normal and this range of pathological. And when it comes to interacting with other people, the answer is almost always going to be, it depends. Are you worried whether or not someone likes you? Do you think all of your friends hate you? Do you have any evidence, like real evidence, not stuff that you made up in your head? Do you have real evidence? Oh, they looked at me funny last time. Is not evidence. Do you have evidence? And I'd also like to remind you about cognitive distortions. Look that up. Cognitive distortions, and it'll tell you some of the ways that we think, what they call in 12 steps, stinking thinking, that can lead us to create suffering for ourselves in ways that are not reflective of reality. Okay, relationship OCD, primarily relating to being overly insecure about your relationship, despite evidence to the contrary, and or feeling compelled to seek constant reassurance about the relationship. Are you sure you want to be with me? Are you sure you want to be with me? Are you sure you want to be with me? If you're doing that, that's a red flag that maybe some intervention is needed. Your key go-tos are going to be reality testing. Go look up those cognitive distortions and see if maybe you're engaging in one of those. And mostly mindfulness. Mindfulness, learning to observe your thoughts without judgment, is going to be so useful in every aspect of your life. It's one of the reasons meditation can be so beneficial. You begin to realize that a thought is just words and pictures that float through your head sometimes. And then having good communication with your partner. If you share your feelings with your partner in a way that's open and non-accusatory, you might be able to get to a place where they're able to support you in feeling more secure in your relationship in a way that actually works for both of you. Okay. That's relationship OCD. I hope it helps clarify a little bit because it was just a little section in the OCD conversation that we had before. So yeah, I hope you're having a really fabulous day today. And if you are not, or if you are, can I please just remind you of something that I know to be true? You beautiful person, are whole, perfect, and complete just the way you are. You are worthy and deserving of a life so beautiful it transcends even your own imagination. Thanks for listening. Until next time. I am so honored that you share time with me. If you've listened this far, then something here was of value to you. Would you please be a friend of the podcast and share it with at least one other person? The podcast is available on most platforms, including YouTube, and I need your help to get the word out. So please like, subscribe, and share, and a 5-star review on iTunes would be chef's kiss. Thank you so much. See you next time.